What's going on, guys? Scotty Sparks here, coach of your London Luxray, and it's been a while, man. I guess I kind of just got busy with other stuff, and I fell out of season 4 we just finished, and we had a strong start. I can't remember where I ended in the videos, but we went from like 7-0 to I think we went 8 or 9-0, and then we took a couple losses, and we kind of had a bad ending to the season. Finished the season 1-3, made it to playoffs, made it to the semifinals, misclicked versus Mark, coach of Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. I'm actually gonna pull that replay up just to show you what happened, just because I'm a little sad on what happened. It's right there, popping up. So pretty much this is not the one I want to show. This is the one that was even worse. So, oh man, people were saving our videos. Did not know that. So pretty much what happens here is, I do pretty decent for the most part. I knew this was Scarf Diggersby from the start. I knew this was after this turn. I figured out it's Banded Cocoa, and it's a lot easier to deal with a Banded Cocoa in my opinion. So that made me feel pretty comfortable. I knew that was leftovers. Registeel was toxic or flame orb, melodic, and then one of these had to be either Altaria or Mew had to be defog. I just knew it, but he wasn't showing me which one it was, and so I just kind of try to get my kills, because if I can kill this defogger, in my mind the Altaria makes more sense to be the offensive. So I was planning around a defensive Mew with defog. Made sense to challenge Salamence. So yeah, I'm just kind of doing my best trying to set up for a Salamence late game sweep. Because in this point, like Earthquake, Dragon Claw, I don't even think I had Dragon Claw. I think it was just Earthquake and some, I can't remember my moveset, but I just knew that, like, I had a good shot to win this game, and it all relied on Salamence, and it all relied on Slurpuff getting sticky webs. This is a misplay, throwing out, because this was Sash Endeavor, Slurpuff, so because I sacked the Sash, I got the webs up, but I didn't get the Endeavor off. So now pretty much all I have to do is play around Mew, or play around not getting these webs defogged, and they end up getting defogged and I lose, but it was because I didn't realize that Altaria was the defog user. So we'll skip into a couple turns here. He goes into Reginald, whatever. I'm back at full health pretty much for that Slurp or Shaman. Pretty much weakening this thing, because I think this Melodic had to be around like 60% for a +1 Z-Fly to kill it. He didn't realize I had speed investment, so he just sacks his Diggersby there, and right now he was telling me he was kind of worried. This is where the game changes though. I'll slow it down. I'm hoping to get a Spit F drop, because if I get a Spit F drop, I can do a lot of damage to this thing. So I go for the second one, and right now 22%. It's a roll in my favor for Earthquake to kill Mew with Salamence. With webs, I have a good chance of I outspeed this. But I go in Incineroar instead, thinking that the chance to the Z-Fly to kill Melodic wasn't 100%. It was a high percentage, but not 100%. So I kill the Mew, and what happens is this gives Altaria the chance to defog, and the second he defogs, I just lose the game. And I try to do what I can, but no, not happening. So it turns out that Mark wins the game against me. He wins the game against Javin in the finals, and we have a new champion, Mark. I was kind of upset because I win this game and I go up against Javin. I was more worried about Sean just because we have a history. So knowing that I didn't have to face Sean in the finals is salty. But good news, this isn't about last season. I stopped making videos for that season, but this season I'll do my best to make content for it, just in case I ever decide to go into a larger league. I want to be used to making a weekly schedule with content, and Mark always does the GG caps with, sometimes he puts a period behind it, like I feel like he wants to get punched sometimes. um, so, without further ado, let me welcome you to Season Five's roster. It was a 72-hour slow draft, which, if you're familiar with slow drafts, 72 hours, 3 days, not that long. Normally it runs over a week. Thank God it was under a week because my patience was running a little thin. Um, that being said, it was really nice not have to draft like right away. Like I had some good hours where I could just sit down, think about how I wanted to use my points and which way to do it. Um, so without further ado, let's open it up and show you the captain of our team this season with the first overall pick, seventh overall, or first round pick, seventh overall. We got Mogwai, um, which is Mew, and pretty much my mentality going into this was um, Mew is awesome, first of all, adorable. A very strong Mon, but it was something that I never really thought of until I just sat down, looked at its move pool, and I'm like, you know what? Mew is something that I could really see myself using. Let me show you this move pool. First of all, base 100 stats synchronize, which means you try to toxic me, it's getting bounced back. Try to burn me, paralyze me. It pretty much evens the playing field. Unless you're like a steel or poison type trying to throw off some toxics, or a fire type trying to throw off burns, um, or a water type like melodic that doesn't want to be toxic. You get a skull burn, and it actually helps you. But look at this, guys. Look at this move pool. Um, let's see, moves. I would comment on them, but there's literally so many, and so many good ones. And by good, I mean like, I'd say 80 or above, 75 or above. Like that base power is kind of what you're looking for, um, when you're looking at good move sets. And overall, it pretty much has everything you would ever want. It's got momentum, it's got rocks, defog, um, speed control and T-wave. It's got pretty much every move and every coverage move type in pretty much every category. So like it's got flamethrower, it's got fire punch, it's got ice beam, it's got ice punch. Um, I can go on gunk shot. It's probably got sludge wave, or sludge bomb, if I'm not mistaken. Like, cause why not? You know? Okay, yeah, it does sludge bomb, sludge wave, pretty much anything you'd want. I'm gonna stop going on about this just because you can see why it's such a good mon. But that being said, it can be too much viability, could be a downside. The downside being you might end up getting locked into one set because your team can't handle the fact that this wants to be it like its own mon, like its own entity pretty much. So going into this draft, I needed to make sure that what I drafted excluded Mew. So pretty much if I wasn't relying on Mew as my only defogger, as my only U-turner, etc. It was going to be my only psychic type. Like I didn't think I would want another one. If it was like another like psychic fighting like Metacham, I mean, it wouldn't matter too much. But the idea being, um, the utility part of Mew, I wanted to make sure that I could run offensively without having to give up defensive um, stuff on my team. And I'm really happy I got this mon. I didn't think it would fall to 7, but with our draft, it's people try things they like, not always the best things. And I'd say Mew is probably a top 5 pick in draft format, just because of how it can be anything. Um, and my goal is to use that to my advantage. Hopefully, I don't pigeonhole this into a defensive role this season, and it takes like the kill board leader or something. It'd be kind of cool. But I'm gonna go into my second pick, and this is a returning member, one of my all-time favorites mons to use, and we got my boy Dirtbag or Excadrill. If I just screwed that up, nope, we're good. There we are. So Excadrill. I really underused Excadrill season 2, even though I'm pretty sure it had like 12 to 15 kills that season, which in this league, if you hit the 20s, you're really good. If you're in like the 10 mark, you're good. And if you're like below 5, you should just be like a defensive mon. Um, or else you're just on a team that's just not getting kills. Um, so Excadrill, it the fact that I didn't put sand with it, um, just was a regret that my team, regret that I had, um, I guess, uh, just because I would always use like Terrakion with Sandstorm, or would have to click Sandstorm with Excadrill itself. So my goal going into this was Excadrill provides that rapid spin support. First of all, that prevents Mew from having to always be the hazard removal. Um, and Excadrill is really good at hazard removal too. So now I have two Mons that are really good at hazard removal. So if I want to run one offensively, I'm allowed to, because I have a second Mon that's really good at getting rid of hazards anyways. Um, so, and like these stats, like come on, like 110 health makes this a bulky Mon, when I need it to be, with an 88 speed, which is really good. The sand, like I said, the sand rush. So my plan was probably going Gigalith over Hippowdon, because in the draft, someone took T-Tar ahead of me, round 2. So right then and there I knew, okay, if I wanted to go the Excadrill route, I had to pick it round 2. And I decided, yeah, that's going to be my play. Luckily it fell to me at round 2. The Excadrill should be a round 1 pick in pretty much any draft. So this is actually the Z Captain, so I can run like Z Sandstorm and get like a Sand Force Excadrill going if I choose to. If I look up its stuff, I'm pretty sure it makes, yeah, Ground Rock and Steel. So it Life Orbs, Ground Rock and Steel types. I don't know why I wouldn't just run Sandstorm with I guess Z Sandstorm means that I'll always have that speed boost, so I don't have I wouldn't need, I wouldn't be limited to 5 turns of sand for the speed, so you couldn't stall it out. But overall, like, this Mon is just so good at what it does, and it's a Mon that I really respect in the format, because there's no other Mon that's gonna give you what Excadrill is gonna give you. So right now I'm kind of happy with my thing. I'm pretty sure point wise, I'll pull up the calculator. We start with 120. Mew was 18, and Excadrill was, I think, 16. So right now I have 86 to work with, and from what it's looking like, around average in the league. Like, most people use their top 2 picks on that. Some people went cheaper, some people went more expensive, but overall, like 86 was decent. So my next pick, and going with Mew, if I wanted to run Mew offensively, I knew there's 3 types stopping it. It's Psychic, Dark, Steel. So this is something that can switch into Psychic types, and most Psychic types that want to take on Excadrill are probably going to be running stuff like Energy Ball, which I'm neutral to, or Focus Blast. So if they want to risk the Focus Blast miss, I could get in on fast Sand type or fast Psychic types with the Scarf. Like, there's ways to break Psychic types with Excadrill, but mainly most Steel types won't be able to handle Excadrill's power, Excadrill's speed. I'm pretty sure Excadrill is one of the top 3 fastest Steel types. It might be the fastest. So I can switch this in on most Steel types, trying to target Mew, trying to Toxic it, stuff like that, and pretty much get a free switch in. So now I just know that Gigalith's 9 points, so like keeping that in mind, I want to make sure that I have enough points that if I need to, I can afford a Powdon, but that I have that spot for Gigalith on my 12th pick, or whenever I end my draft, because the draft is 8 to 12 this season with a points value, instead of like a tier-based system. So going in, I was kind of uncomfortable with how much points I spent. I spent them on really good Mons, but that being said, like, it was still a lot of points. So I was trying to look for a cheaper option, and at this point, Mega Manectric got sniped, and that was an 11-point Electric Mon, which really fast, 135 speed. So that was something I was really looking towards. I thought Mega Manectric was very undervalued at 11 points. It probably should be like 12 or 13. With Intimidate, Volt Switch, like, it had the stuff I wanted to break those flying types that Excadrill really can't handle without Rock MZ or Rock Slide. And also the bulky water types that are very common in draft format. So I kind of reached with this pick, and I'm happy I did, because it's really good at what it does, and my pick was Jolteon, and it's probably my favorite of the evolutions. Uh, Even though I'm a water guy, and like Vaporeon is really awesome, I think Jolteon, in my mind, edges it out. And this one was 9 points, so it gave me everything I wanted. It gave me that fast electric that's so common in or so good in draft format, but it gave me it gave me the option to have more points than most people going into the later rounds, um, which was nice. It gave me a an electric switch in too with Volt Absorb. Um, what it didn't give me was a ground resist. So going into this, if you look at my weaknesses here, I have two weaknesses to ground. I'm Everyone's weak to ghost. So ghost is another type I'd have to worry about with Mew. Fire, water, those would be fixed once I got my water type. Once I got a grass type, and once I got my fire type, got that core going. And dark, I was planning on getting a or a fighting type soon, to check dark types. But at this point, there was a lot of fighting types still available that were all around like that 8 to like 12 point range, which were affordable and decent in my opinion. So I didn't think I had to be too pressured on the fighting types, but I knew that the best way to complement Mew was to grab a decent fighting type that can break walls, um, or go the other route with a fast fighting type that once Mew weakened its checks, um, the fighting type could go off. Um, and right now I kind of like stayed away from cores because normally in the first three picks people have their Fairy Dragon Steel or their Fire Water Grass, but I went Psychic Steel, and I got the Ground Electric. And Ground Electrics are two types that you really need in draft format, anyways. So I guaranteed that I had like top tier Ground Electric types, and I was gonna add a Dark Fighting to get that core. I was gonna add a Fairy Dragon going forward to finish out that core, and um, and eventually get my Fire Water Grass core, just because I'm so comfortable with having a Water Fire Grass typing on my team, and there's good reasons to have them. Um, so that being said about the fairy though, I realized at this point, first of all, there's not very many fairies I like anyways, and even further, like many I would really want on my team. So I went with a an old favorite of mine that I had last season, and got Cotton Kirby back. Got that Slurpuff, and you look at its stats, and it's very under. It looks very underwhelming. Yeah, I can spell. Um, but eventually, it just gives you so much to a team, um, that and it was 8 points too, and that right there was like the deal, like the what set the deal, the fact that for 8 points I was getting a good fairy that was clerical, had that cleric wish passing, had the heal bell, had a chance to be a sweeper with a belly drum set. Like when you see Slurpuff, you can't sleep on the fact that it could just steamroll your team with play roughs. It can also be a calm mindset. It can also be a sticky web user. So those multiple ways to set up hazard support and wish support, um, and the ability to be defensive for my team. It was just so hard to not grab. And honestly, if I end up keeping Mons, if I end up winning and keeping a Mon, like Slurpuff is something that I realistically see myself drafting every year, just because I'm not really a big fan of other fairy types. Like I could get Sylveon again. I could go for a fairy Mega, or maybe Coco as a fairy type. But there's not very many fairy types that I enjoy using, but they're so necessary to a team, which is the bad part. But by grabbing that, it didn't cover my ground weakness at all, but it was able to cover a dark type weakness that Mew doesn't like breaking. It was able to cover the fact that I was able to add to my Fairy Dragon Steel core. Now all I need is a Dragon type. Uh, but it was able to just add so many versatile options to my team that Excadrill, I wouldn't have to always run it Sand Rush. Mew won't need like a dual dance set sometimes. I would only need nasty plot. Like it just gave so much, and um, I mean I can just keep going on about Slurpuff, but I'll move on to my next Pokemon just because last season I extremely enjoyed it, and I feel like there's very few fairy types that are worth their points value, let alone 8 points for that. So next Pokemon I go Drapion, um, mainly because again, Drapion, there's very few Pokemon that can perform the role that Drapion can perform. It gave me a Pursuit Trapper for Mew so I can stop those bulky psychic types. It gave me a knockoff user, gave me priority and Sucker Punch. It gave me T-Spikes. And at this point I was looking at my draft. I wanted to round out my Hazard Core, something that I enjoy using. But in order to do that, I felt like my team would be worse. It would involve me picking up a Selgor instead of something else. And overall I thought that mana I ended up picking up was better. So Drapion, I took instead of going like the Mega Absol route, which was something I was looking at. Um, and overall, I had to give up spikes, which sucks. And I might make a move to get spikes on my team. I don't know why Jolteon doesn't get spikes, even though I wouldn't probably run it as much. But um, but all in all, like just having toxic spikes, just having a grounded poison type, having a decently bulky dark type, um, that can take on fairies, that can take on those bulky psychic types that Mew is not gonna like, to absorb toxic spikes so that Mew doesn't have to be poisoned if it's my defogger. Um, so just all those rules were it was just the reason I felt necessary to grab it at that pick. Um, so since I was 7, um, it would be like I'd have to wait a long time after drafting my odd numbers, and then when I drafted my even numbers, it would come back to me. So like I waited a long time before I drafted Excadrill, and it was like Excadrill Jolteon, waited a long time, so for Drapion. So right now I'm waiting like almost 20 picks, I think, before I end up back at my next pick. So I knew that between the two Pokemon that I wanted was Drapion and Emboar. I feared Emboar, even if I don't get it, there's other options that I can realistically grab. Where Drapion, there was just nothing that would provide me that pursuit, that knockoff, that those utility aspects that I like building with. So I ended up going with that. It did provide me another ground type weakness, so I knew later into my draft I'd have to patch that up, preferably by grabbing a flying type, a grass type, and then probably if I could get a levitate user, that'd be nice. But having like two or three ground switch-ins was the goal, because I knew Gigalith was on the list, and Gigalith is also weak to ground moves. So knowing that too. But my next pick is Emboar, which is another ground weakness. Yay! Let's go. But pretty much when I saw like some competitive drafts, they were drafting Mew in like Infernape, and it made sense because like a fighting fire type is a really good steel and dark switch-in. It's not good with those bulky psychics, but Emboar checks the two of the three things that Mew hates to fight, and Mew being Mew can 1v1 most psychic types, with the right set. So I'm not too stressed out about psychic types, and plus I do have Drapion in the back if I need it. But Emboar and Excadrill are just gonna pair so well together with checking the things Mew can't check, because if I get free switch-ins with Emboar on those steel types, good luck, because Emboar, let's show you this this 110 attack stat with I believe it gets Reckless. So good luck. The only thing I don't like is the downsides, which I didn't realize, which would have made Infernape better, is it's a 123 not a 110. What am I talking about? Is it gets superpower, doesn't get any other better moves. It gets like, and it has an 100 attacks, a special attack stat, so I can run specially offensive, but at the same time, I wouldn't get the Reckless boost. So like there's other options. And I can go throw a flame charge off against a steel type and get that speed boost. But just the fact that the downside is Emboar is a Pokemon that's really gonna be worn down with Flare Blitz. Superpower is gonna make it where I have to switch. Wild Charge, more recoil. So this is gonna have to pair decently with Slurpuff, and the fact that it's gonna be like the way Emboar really gets its health back. Unless I want to run like a berry on it, so that once it hits like 33%, I can just kind of pop it back up. Um, but I guess there's other ways to avoid it running out of health fast. Um, does he get Drain Punch? Probably doesn't, yeah. It's 'cause it's ass. But hopefully it's not too bad. I remember Steven ran it one year, and I think he was underwhelmed with it. But overall, I don't think I'll be underwhelmed. Like, I have Low Kick as an option instead of Superpower. Um, and knowing what I'm gonna... And I had priority too with Sucker Punch. So, like, Mega Zam, stuff like that, we'll have to worry. Although I don't really know if I'm gonna Sucker Punch on a Mega Zam because Sub is such a big threat. It's a taunt, so it can, like, break stall, in a sense. It has a lot of options, and realistically, with what Mew is gonna provide me, Emboar is gonna get it's gonna get free switch-ins on things that will not appreciate that to staying in on it, like a Bisharp or what else can I check that's darker? Like a Weavile. Like Weavile is not gonna appreciate Emboar. Umbreon, especially like a T-Tar if I'm faster, like a Scarf Emboar will just like crush a T-Tar. So overall, like, I knew going into this that I would have to patch my ground weakness in my next couple picks, but so far I think I did a good job with countering Mew, and also Excadrill. It's not gonna like those bulky waters and bulky grass types, and also the flying types. So Jolteon being able to check those water flying, Drapion and Emboar being able to check those grass types, it'll give me free hits to wall break, which is really nice. Combined with the momentum Mew and Jolteon will give me, I feel like Emboar is a solid pick, a solid budget pick that's going to allow me to get good chances with this team comp to punch holes. If I didn't have the momentum, if I didn't have Mons that just drew in dark types, that just drew in bulky grass types, Emboar, I don't really agree with it. Maybe Darmanitan would have been a better pick, but that Fighting Stab is also key with the dark type. So I just felt overall this just synergized better with my team. So going after Emboar, what did I pick next? I think, yeah, my boy Kyurem. I'm really happy with this pick because I was struggling between a couple types, and I wanted to pick the one that wasn't going to get sniped, or was going to get sniped if I didn't pick it. And I decided, you know what, I need a dragon, and people just kept sniping dragons that round. Like, I had, like, Haxorus, and I had Gudra, and I had something else in my backups. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at my backups, and they're all getting taken. Okay, thank God this one didn't get taken. So I drafted it, and I was going to crash, so I messaged the group, like, if it's my turn and I'm asleep or whatever, pick Kyurem. And Mark instantly is just like, fuck, because huge snipe on him. But yeah, so this rounds out my Fairy Dragon Steel Core, which is really nice. Finally I round out one core, you know. Although I did get my Psychic Dark Fighting Core, so I got that, which is nice. But it's nice to get my second core, but I haven't drafted a water or grass type yet, which is kind of concerning to me because they're crucial parts to a team. But I had my eye on certain mons that I didn't think were going to get taken just because of the rep in our league. And for the most part, it didn't really matter to me that Kyurem has these weaknesses because Excadrill switches into the rock types and pressures them out. Mew switches into fighting types. Steel, Emboar, and Excadrill deal with. Dragon, I have Slurpuff if I need it. For certain dragons that aren't Megazord X and aren't like Mons that get like steel coverage. I think Haxorus and Hydreigon both get steel coverage. Just Mons like that don't get that. And fairy types, it didn't really matter because I had an Excadrill and a Drapion. And the only thing that I don't like about Drapion is that it's neutral to fairy, which is kind of an issue. But most fairy types aren't the strongest. Um, there's very few that are like Coco or Gardevoir that can just hit hard. So it's kind of cool knowing that I'll have that to like pressure them out, and then Excadrill to switch in to some, I guess. And I have bulk so far. Like Mew can bulk its way through some things, which is gonna be clutch with this team. Like having a Mon that's glue like that can just kind of go anywhere and do anything with its good typing. But and Kyurem kind of fits this in the sense that like those bulky grasses uh, that Excadrill doesn't want to face, Kyurem can take on. It hits 95 speed, which is really nice. It just meshed well with my speed tiers, meshed well with pretty much everything I wanted, and it allowed me to, because my plan was to go like Weavile or Sneasel, but I couldn't really fit it in without losing Toxic Spikes. So I kind of, instead of Sneasel, I went Kyurem, and then Drapion. But let's see, what points was that? I was at 69. And that was after Slurpuff, I believe. 9, 8. Drapion was 7, which brought me to 62. And then Emboar, I believe, was 8. And Kyurem was 11. So at this point, I knew out of my 43 points, I'm not going to flat out say what I wanted, just because I ended up getting exactly what I wanted. Privileged guy right here. But, so 43, I knew 9 points of that was going to be, 9 points is going to be Gigalith. About 11 points is what I was expecting to spend on my Mega. So that puts me at 32, 23. Yeah, 23 points. So 23 points to grab a Water type, to grab a Grass type, and I have 5 more slots. So Water, Grass, and then something else. My mind was going towards Ghost just because Ghost is such a spammable option, and there was a Levitate Ghostmon on the board that wasn't taken yet, which was, I think it was 7 points. So 7 points plus, I was planning to spend the remainder of that on the Water, Grass. Like the points worked out well, that if I got my 11 point Mega, if I got the Grass type I wanted, I could splurge a bit and grab a high point Watermon, and an average Mon that just kind of like helped my team out, I guess. It was just like another threat to add. So with these 5 Mons, I believe I remember what I picked next. Okay, so it was Gyarados. It wasn't that 7 point Mon, but Gyarados at this point is 11 points. So I know now I'm at 32, and again, 20 of those 32 are going to be towards my Mega and towards my... Oh, no, I'm good. Towards my Mega and towards my my Gigalith, I guess. But why I picked Gyarados was because, again, I had such a big ground weakness. Knowing that Gyarados could switch into those ground types and pressure them out, offensively was nice. It was also a sweeper in a sense, that like a Moxie D-Dan sweeper, which is something that I showed last season. Is something you don't sleep on. I'm pretty sure Salamence had like 20 something kills and just led the league, but it was also a defensive Intimidate Mon with a pretty decent speed tier. And like I was looking at some things, like obviously its only weakness is Rock and Electric, and Electric is going to be bad with HP Electric, but if I can play Gyarados right, it's bulky enough that, I mean, I won't really have to worry too much about the Electric typing. And I was gonna go Mega Gyarados, but I just felt that having the option to use Z moves made Gyarados so much more viable. And with it being my Z ult, having Z bounce as an option, definitely something that I need. Has taunt too. I guess I didn't realize that, but having taunt with an 80 something speed is very good. Has liquidation now, I believe, instead of waterfall. No, I guess it just is waterfall. I don't want liquidation anyways. You can go screw yourself, dude. But yeah, I don't know. I just found like it's such a cool mon that I don't know. People get scared off by the 4 times weak to electric, but I don't know. I just felt it was so cool to use, and I had a team that pretty much was fine with electric. Like if you go here, where's electric? I have two flat out immunities in Jolteon and Excadrill, and mons that are probably gonna have that electric typing are um would probably be like it'd probably be stuff that just is bulky, like that doesn't hit hard and just wants to deal a lot of damage. Because Excadrill can switch in on those grass. No, I'll have Emboar that can switch in on like the grass types that are gonna try to flatten Gyarados with their HP Electric, but I don't know. I didn't feel like this team was. I was more worried about the fact that I didn't have a Scald switch in now, because I wasn't planning on grabbing another Water type. Just because Gyarados isn't something that really wants to be scalded. Um, and it's only a 60 special attack, so it's not like I can like realistically run specially offensive Gyarados most weeks. I think I can run like Scald Gyarados, but that being said, I don't know. I just felt that I felt that the offensive pressure Gyarados had. I felt like things like the fire types that I want to switch into with my water type, Gigalith would be able to handle. Um, and Gigalith is pretty bulky. Like I was pretty much banking on the fact that the rest of my team is bulky enough that the types that water types usually want to switch into, I can kind of share the load with other stuff. Um, this draft was more of me like trying to draft things that mesh well together, but at the same time have fun with it. Like last season I had so much fun because I was just drafting a bunch of cool things that arguably, I mean, are good, but like I didn't really see our league drafting most of what I drafted last season. So that was kind of my goal this season, was the same thing, just draft things I could have fun with that meshed well together. But without further ado, I'll move on to my next Pokemon, and this is the mon I was talking about. This is a 7 point mon. So again, I'm starting to wear down my points, and at this point, most people have picked their Mega by round 2, so I knew I could sleep on my Mega and still have a decent one. And for the most part, I was looking at the list of like what Megas I wanted, and most of the Megas I wanted were still there. I wasn't really looking at the high point Megas. That's what everyone kind of like gravitated towards. Um, so it was kind of nice. Um, and again, that's another ground like immunity, and something that can take on those bulky psychic types. Unfortunately, Gyarados, Mew, and Excadrill took up my Z slots, so Miss Magius couldn't be a Z user. But this just Ghost Spam is so good in this league, in league format. Like people, and like people usually need a Dark type or normal. Like people don't really draft normal types, so their Dark type becomes their Ghost resist. But if I'm pressuring their Dark type with Miss Magius, that's something that's free for Mew. Like I do see people trying to pursuit trap me this season. Like, I have a Miss Magius, I have a Mew. It just makes sense. But if I can scout pursuits out with Miss Magius, that's gonna save Mew. If I can get high damage off on those Dark types that Mew can just come in and like Aura Sphere or something, it's just so much better for my team. Um, and with 105 speed, it hit a good speed tier for my team. It has Calm Mind or Nasty Plot access, I think. Um, I believe so. I know it has setup, so like I could throw off a Nasty Plot when someone switches, and just flat out, yeah, Nasty Plot, Shadow Ball Hex, Dazzling Gleam, Taunt Willow. Um, yeah, like, and with Willow, it can be a defensive, like a Spadef wall, in a sense, and try to burn stuff. And like, if I can burn people trying to pursue, like if I can burn a Dark type, Mew just has such a bigger field day. Has Calm Mind too if I want to be that bulky. And I've seen teams just flat out get swept by Miss Magius just because like they put themselves in a position that they just can't handle. Just can't handle it. And look at that T-Wave. 105 with T-Wave. That, I mean, now T-Wave is only 9%, but in Trick, like I can try to like just shut down those Dark types, which is nice. um, and just like shut down those walls that try to switch into me. Um, or if I don't need the scarf anymore, I can trick it onto something that's a wall, and then go from there. It because like Ferrothorn is a lot easier to deal with a Choice Scarf. Just saying. Um, but yeah, like it didn't really serve a purpose on my team other than pressure the opponent with a type that uh, they're not that's not normal or not common. So like a lot of teams, they're just gonna have an issue dealing with it. And that's I don't know. And I was debating between this and Chandelure, but Chandelure is only 80 speed, and I didn't really want to have a mon that I'd only feel comfortable really running Chandelure with scarves, whereas Miss Magius I can run Specs, Scarf, like there's Life Orb, like I had more options with Miss Magius, more setup, and to me that's more fun. Where Chandelure, it's good, but with 80 base speed, there's just so many things that outspeed it. Like I learned that with Lucario last season, um, and being a fire ghost type, you have a fair amount of uh, weaknesses. And I don't know, like overall, I just appreciated this mon more. No one really drafts. I think this is the first time it's been drafted in our league. I might be wrong, but like, just using a mon that hasn't been drafted was appealing to me. This is like one of my favorite mons going into this season right now, just because something that's new, no one's really used, and I get a chance to like put it on the board. Um, and we'll see my next pick. So this is the 4 point grass mon I was talking about. Puts me at 21 points. It gives me enough points to afford that mega I wanted along with Gigalith. Um, and the reason I picked Lurantis is because I was looking at low budget mons, and realistically, the only low budget mons I saw myself using were more bulky mons, and they were all like the grass type. Like I had a list. I'll see if I can pull it up, but draft checklist. That's not that. Draft plans. Is it this? Yeah. So I was planning with the Mega, but Rotom was something I was looking for, that ghost type. These were all the 6 and below mons that I saw. And like, look at this, there's so many grass types that I saw being useful. And I could afford Gourgeist still at 5 points, because I end up having a point left over. There's some ground types, a lot of normal types. But overall, like, there were certain types that I just knew I had to get in the high points. Water was one of them. Like, I didn't really see anything I wanted under 6 points. Everything I wanted water-wise was like 8 plus. But Lurantis with Contrary, and with, like, look at that, it's 70, 90, 90. And that 80 special attack, when it's doubled, I mean, that's not bad. Like, I'll show you damage calc. What's Lurantis's, Lurantis, go Defogger. Right now, it has no special attack. When you throw off a Leaf Storm, it goes up to 400 special attack. So, I'll show you a Zygarde. Just because Zygarde is one of the bigger threats one of the bigger ground threats. Look at that. Leaf Storm does 33% without any investment, and that's a minus attack one. So you throw off a Leaf Storm, and now HPI is pretty much OHKO's the Zygarde. Yeah, Outrage does a lot, but like, you can probably switch the bulk on this. You can play around with that. But just overall, like, and you get superpower, so it can boost its both sides. Obviously toxic, but like, I think the deal breaker for this mon, which is why I wanted it over Gourgeist, just because I love Gourgeist, but Defog just so nice. It was a defensive mon that just allowed me the option to run Mew and Excadrill offensively. And I think this gets knockoff too. Yeah, it gets knockoff too, so there's some more utility. And having a bulky grass type, especially without a bulky water type, it was key to my draft. Especially for those water types, for those grass types, I guess. But I have Drapion, so it wasn't really mainly for that. And those ground types, like, especially since my team was really weak to ground. And right now my team's pretty weak to like Thousand Arrows. So I wanted to make sure I could cover that. So yeah, going into my second last Pokemon. If you remember Season 2, uh, my plan was Excadrill, Mega Pidgeot, and what happened was Mega Pidgeot got sniped by the Bravest Bird, aka Liam, Liam, coach of the Bravest Birds. He was like the only one that had the points to afford a Mega that hadn't picked a Mega yet. Some people had points left over. The only person that didn't pick a Mega was Mark, I think. Um, but uh, he has a scary team in its own right. Um, so I knew, like, my gut was saying, if I don't pick this Mon right now, um, I'm not getting it. And it's kind of funny. Like, I remember being so mad that I got Pinsir instead of Pidgeot, but Pinsir was not a consolidation prize. It was amazing. It was awesome. So it was awesome to get to use that. But now now I got to show why Mega Pidgeot's so cool. Hurricane, No Guard, Heat Wave, U-Turn, Roost, 121 speed. Flying is a very underappreciated stab. People do not draft it. An example is Talonflame got drafted this season, but um, Staraptor rarely gets drafted. Braviary, Swellow. These are mons that are very powerful at what they do, especially with a Scarf, and they didn't get drafted. Pinsir got drafted the last round. Um, so like yeah, the guy that could have sniped me on Mega Pidgeot this year picked Mega Pinsir, so we traded Megas from Season 2, which is kind of cool. Um, but this mainly was another ground resist, just because I knew that some of my higher picks were so weak to ground that I wanted to make sure that I had a lot of ground options. So my last four mons all either are look at that, they like resist ground, or they flat out just are neutral or ignore it. It did provide me with some other weaknesses, like I started getting an electric weakness with Gyarados, Pidgeot, but that's countered by Kyurem, that's countered by Excadrill, Jolteon. That's not really a big issue. Um, it was just more like the speed, the U-turn, which was nice, having that, along with the fact that um, flying spam is just so nice. Uh, there wasn't really more I wanted to add. Like Gyarados is a flying type, but I didn't really want to rely on my flying type being a bounce user. I wanted to make sure that it was someone that I could bring in and just spam flying types, like a Staraptor, which was my backup pick, so I wouldn't have had a Mega if this got sniped. Um, Staraptor just doesn't have the same speed or the same hitting. It probably has the same hitting power, just doesn't have the same speed. Um, so yeah, overall, my last pick, guess what it was? Gigalith, which I'm not really gonna talk much about this. Gigalith, I feel like is gonna be very important to this team, mainly because it has Sturdy, which I can use if I need it. It can be like a sack rock setter if I need that. But these stats, 85 health, 130 defense, 80 SPDF. It's potentially an anti-Trick Room user. If someone has like a Trick Room team, I can bring Banded Gigalith and throw that out the window. It's just overall, I felt it was better than Hippowdon. It gave me those 3 extra points that I could spend, which meant I wouldn't have had, you know what I mean? So like there was things on my team that I wouldn't have been able to afford if I picked Hippowdon. And Hippowdon was another ground type. Honestly, in my opinion, the way it goes for Sandy abusers, it's you draft T-Tar, Gigalith, Hippowdon, then Mega T-Tar. If you need that Sand Setter. Just because Gigalith provides so much to a team. It provides a rock type, which most people don't have. And so that means like I can take on fire types, I can take on flying types, so now I have a flying resist that isn't Jolteon and Excadrill. So now like other teams that have like a Mega Pidgeot, which they wouldn't, but like Mega Pinsir teams, stuff like that, like I can theoretically throw this in the way and check them. The only thing is Gigalith is going to rely on leftovers or berries, I guess. So having 5 turns of sand instead of 8 might be an issue, but like if Excadrill is my plan for that night or that week, I might have to just forego leftovers and just flat out throw a sand rock or smooth rock on it. Also, the fact that it has explosion, so if I need Excadrill in now without taking damage, and they're trying to like defog away, actually no, I'm too slow for defog. They'll probably get the defog off, but I can just boom on someone and just deal a massive amount of damage. Like I said, 135 attack, not something to be slept on. Just flat out crush something, and then extra comes in, and if at that point extra sweeps, then I mean, awesome. Um, but yeah, overall, I think that's pretty much it. This video is pretty long, I feel like. Um, but hopefully you enjoy the video. Hopefully you enjoy this team. I feel like it's a different team. I think I'm one of the only ones that drafted 12 mons. I'll show you other people's teams just because. So I have 12 with one left over. Liam drafted 12. So yeah, it was both Liam and I think the issue with that was we both went in the mindset of trying to conserve points. Alex had that mindset early, where he was drafting 14, 12, 14, and then all of a sudden he just drafted 17, 15, 15, and kind of lost that point advantage that he had on people. So I don't know if it's the right way to do drafts like this, but in my mind, conserving those points early allowed me to make sure that the last 6 mons I drafted fit my team. So I could be like, okay, like it didn't pigeonhole me to something that I didn't want. It allowed me to be like, okay, you know what? If this mon gets sniped, like Gyarados, that's 11 points, I can reach for a 12-point mon and still afford it. Or I could look, like, if I needed like a certain type to fit my team, like, man, I need a a fire type. I wouldn't be like, oh well, I can only spend 5 points on a fire type, and all the 5-point fire types are pretty bad. So I now having that point, I'm like, okay, maybe I have to invest more on fire types, but then I'll be able to take this Lurantis with 4 points. But overall, I'm happy with my draft. I think there's the versatility that I enjoy, the competitive mons that people normally bring, like Extra Mew, Jolteon. Like my team's got a lot of threats, and hopefully with 12 mons, it's I mean, Gigalith doesn't really count as a mon, just because it's mainly there for a Sandstream user. So overall, I feel like I guess I'm technically 11, but I feel like I have enough threats, enough versatility that I'll thrive like last season. That I don't. This might be similar to my season 3 team where I'll have to play more offensively, and not defensively. And if that's the case, I might struggle the first couple games, but I'll learn the ropes. Yeah, I really don't see this as a defensive team. I guess I have Lurantis, Gigalith, Kyurem can be bulky, Emboar can be bulky, Drapion can be bulky, Slurpuff can be bulky, Mew and Excadrill can be bulky. So I have the aspects there to be a bulky team, but overall, I think it should be good. Yeah, so I'm not gonna talk anymore, just because the video's been long enough. Hope you enjoyed. Hopefully you just tabbed out and just listened to my my thought process going in. I don't have any plans. I know I played Mike week 1, and here's his team. It's gonna be interesting. Technically, it's a 10-point team. Shroomish counts, even though Brandon said it didn't in the the team analysis we did. Mega Heracross Zygarde is gonna be interesting for sure. And scary. I don't want Heracross getting behind a sub. So I'll have to figure out a way to deal with a Mega Heracross Zygarde core. I feel like he'll do well this season. Hopefully he starts 0-1, because that means we start 1-0. But yeah, I'll see you guys for the team prep video.